then?
This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, we should be.
Okay. All right. Then let's get started. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can. We're on a projector, so it's a little bit delayed, but we can watch my laptop screen also.
Okay. Well, basically, Zach wanted me to go over all the obviously the PSR stuff. You guys currently aren't using AP100,
No.
is that correct?
That's correct. We're Sigma Nest right now.
Okay. So I guess because Zach said just make sure I show you guys the PSR stuff, which is what I'm going to show you. I guess anything else or all the other stuff, Mike Albert would take care of demoing for you.
Okay.
So anyway, so basically what I did is I took some of your parts and I just put them on the sheet, nested them. Some of them common cut, some of them not. Before I get started with the process, I'm just going to go over a few of the PSR stuff, which is located in our modules here. This menu here is all of our unloading PSR menu. Um, Basically, we have settings that are preset for you. This is all your cup location and whatnot, and pretty much you won't have to deal with this at all. It'll be all be preset for you. The only one that I would think that you could that you might want to check would be, like, for instance, we have a stacking module. If you want to just go ahead and drag parts from the sheet over to the drop table manually, you can turn this off and not use our editor. Editor is really nice though, and I'll show you that as well. Um, so that would be a checkbox here. Everything else, I mean, you definitely want to be able to rotate your arms. So you'd want the rotate, show arm dead zone, whatnot. And auto detect is automatically going to turn the cups on for you when it sees it inside of a good spot on the part. If it's inside of a hole, it'll automatically turn it off for you.
Okay.
But the basically the layout here, this switch here, this might be something you'd want to check. Right now it's set to sheet, and basically what that's going to do is it's going to take this entire sheet layout and it's going to drop it to the table the exact same way, same positions. Okay, so everything the way you see it on the sheet is the way you'll see it on the drop table after it's been unloaded. We have a stack option here, and I'll show you the difference between the two. Basically, that'll take all the like parts and stack them on top of each other. Okay. So before we do anything here, there's a few parts here that I'm going to comment cut. The thing is, when with the PSR, is you've got to remember the table's going to shuttle over to the pickup area where the robot's going to pick up the parts. So during that movement, there's going to be vibration, and corners could slide under the skeleton. So those are things we want to be aware of before we unload parts, and we have a lot of tools that will allow you to make sure that corners and stuff are freed up so that the PSR can pick up without any problems. Thicker material, you don't have to be as concerned with it because obviously it's a lot more sturdy, and the moving around is going to be a lot less. Um, and it's just the vibration of the table moving is what I'm talking about. Um, so what I'm going to do is we have a feature here, and what we've tried to do in the PSRs, we've tried to put all the features you're going to use here all in this one ribbon. So we have this straight common line cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to common line cut these two parts and these two parts, but I'm also going to use the same feature for these parts here. And the reason I'm going to is because we have these little notches here that we have to deal with. This is very easily depend. I noticed that I think these were the 10 gauge parts. You gave 10 gauge and 12 gauge. I think these were the 10 gauge. So this is pretty thick, and but still, this is a very small notch and can easily cause you a little bit of problems with pickup. So I'm going to show you how we can free this whole area up and make it a little easier for the PSR to pick it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my settings first and just show you a few things. We definitely want to use the straight edge cut. This is what you're going to use for the common line cutting for these particular layouts here. And then one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to check. There's a lot of features in here, and again, Mike Albert can go over these all in detail with you if you need. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to use right now, and that's going to be this area here, the notch split. Looking at this sheet on your actual crate table or your table, your bed that's being cut, your slats are going to be vertical here. Okay, so we can actually drop material in between those slats, and those slats I think are around maybe 1.5 inches apart. Let's just say they are. You actually would have to go down and measure to be exact. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my X box here, and I'm going to just put in less than 1/2 inch because I want stuff to drop in between. So I'm going to put in, say, 1.25 inches would be a good value to use. Okay, now with that, I'm going to go ahead and set these up to common line cut. And the way to do that is we could just, I don't want to process everything because I'm not common line cutting these, and of course these either. So I'm just going to come here to go to process. All you do is you click the parts that you want to common line cut. So this one, and this one. And then I'm going to see, notice the message down, well, I aborted, but the message down here at the bottom says double click the right button to process. So if I double click the right button, that's because I aborted. Let me do it again. What it does is it processes the common line cut. Now notice what it does is if I view the process, basically it shows you what it does. This is the common line cutting. The blue line is the common line cutting. The actual black line that you still see, that's going to also be cut as well. But you'll notice when we cut, we're going to have that 1/8 inch or 1.25 inch split. So if you notice when I go to sequence all of these parts now, notice all these little sequence lines you have here. This is going to drop these little slugs down. So what's going to appear when this is taken over to the PSR is none of this material is going to be there. Okay, so it'll be a pretty much just a straight rectangle. PSR should be able to come in and pick these parts up. So when using the PSR, we can set up our machine info over here. We have an option here in the sequence info to let it do it automatically for us. And this is not a bad idea to let it go ahead and do its thing. And it's easier to edit and change what it's already done. I should say it's not easier. It's just the same. It's just less time to let it do it. And then go ahead and you can go back in and see, hey, you know what, maybe I'll do it this way. And that's what we're going to do. So if I come over here now to cut sequence and just, I'm going to reset it. And this time I'm going to auto sequence with the auto unload on. What it's going to do is it's going to unload everything. So notice I had my settings set to sheet. So basically what you see here is what you're going to see on the drop table. And it's also fast. Maybe it's not as fast on yours. Maybe you saw it a little better. But we have this option down here that you can slow it down. That'd probably be way too slow. And then I'll just go over here so that I think that's going to be way too slow to watch the cutting. I don't want to take that much time. Let's speed it up a little bit. That's at 8. Yeah, see 9. I'll speed it up. There we go. That kind of slows it down. But anyways, you can see as it's going, it does all the parts in that way and does it the same as a sheet. So if we come over to the modules and go back over here and we'll set it up to stack and say okay. Now if I reset the sequence and say auto. Oops, I'm sorry. My bad. I need to reset the stack. So let's just delete the stack. Now if we go auto, it'll stack them. Okay. The thing is with the stack though, is it stacks them according to wherever the first part is. So it's kind of still like the sheet. So I mean, this is not a good, especially if you have a pallet here and you're trying to stack them all on the pallet. You know, you're not gonna. This part over here is obviously not going to hit the pallet. So what we could do, and this is what I was talking about, turning that switch on and off from our editor. I'm going to turn off the editor right now. I go to edit stack module and uncheck that and say okay. And what that allows me to do when I go to edit stacking is I could just come over and say, okay, I want these parts over here, and maybe I want this part over here. So it allows you to manually manipulate how you want that stack table to look with the parts. Okay. So basically, I don't know what because it went so fast and I didn't really see. All I know is that my cutting's good. I've got all the slugs that I want taken out. This is all taken out. So basically my parts should be, now these are the ones I'm concerned about because they're really small. and I'm going to show you a feature, and I purposely did this to show you a feature. We have what we call a box frame kit. What I could do is tab these in to the actual material, and I'm going to box them in, and I'm going to cut out the box and pick up all of those parts at one time. And I'll show you how we do that. This part here has got a lot of cutouts. I purposely wanted to show you this because this definitely, thick or thin, may cause you problems. Thicker, not as much, but thin, you probably would have a hard time. It probably would hang up, and it's going to hang up on the frame or the skeleton, and it might cause you problems. So I'm going to show you the features that we have to kind of to clear this up and kind of free it up a little bit, make it easier for the PSR to pick that up. So first, let's check this top part and see what the software did with it. So we come over here to our, I'm going to go back here because I'm going to show you the stack module next. Let's turn that back on. But let's come over here and let's edit our arm and see what it did on this particular part. So this particular part looks pretty good. The suction cups that you have here that look like a bullseye, those are sensor cups. One of those cups have to be on the part in order for it to pick up the parts. If it doesn't sense material underneath, it's not going to turn on suction for any of them. Okay. So what it will do is with that auto detect that I had, notice these cups turning on and off if they go over a hole, and then if I come off the hole, it goes back on. You can position this however you feel it's going to be, you know, strong enough to pick up the part. And I will say the suction on these cups is pretty strong. In fact, just yesterday I was out there, we have a machine here, and I put my hand underneath the cup. One of the techs was showing me, and it sucked my hand right up. They're pretty strong. So the way to position those, as you can see, I'm just holding my left button down. You just put it wherever you want to put the bottom arm. And then what you can always do is you can stretch the top arm. So there's a minimum. Let me zoom out a little bit. There's a minimum and a maximum. And once you hit it, the arms will stop. So obviously you can't go any further than that's as high as I can go with that. So you can do pretty big parts, and I'm going to show you on this one down here. But anyways, once you get the arms where you want, you would just right button on the mouse, and that locks that in. Now, because all these parts are the same, it's going to be the same on all the parts. Okay, so this part's good. Arms are good. I'm going to go into the editor to show you the stacking. So we'll ignore where that is for now. So let's go to the next one here. Now, this particular one, okay, that's picking, and that's good. That's a good pickup. But I feel that these arms are strong enough for me to pick this part up, and then this arm to pick this part up without any problems. Every single cup will be turned on. If I center it properly, I don't think I'll have any problems picking up one arm with one part. So I could pick up both those parts at the same time. So what you do for that is we have this feature here called grouping. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and select the group option. And all you'll do is just draw a box around the parts you want to group. The software is going to tell you number of parts in a group is 2. Say OK. So now when I come over here to edit my arm, now it's going to see that even though it's 2 parts, it's going to see it as one pickup. So now notice my arm in this second part, they automatically turn on. So what I'm going to do is just kind of position this so that it's going to be centered to both arms. Close enough, I think. And then right click. Now these 2 parts are taken care of. Okay. So we'll come down here to this part here. And same thing. Now, because this is a PSR and it's robotic, it does rotate. So if this is a good position, maybe you'd want to open it up a little bit more. Maybe you want to rotate this to 90 degrees. Maybe you think you get a better pickup that way. Whatever you feel is going to work, that's what you would do. If you want to put it back to 0, we can come right over here to the right and just hit the arm and just put in whatever. There will definitely be times, obviously, that you have to pick up at 90. These particular parts, if they were at 90 degrees, obviously your arms would have to be at 90 to get a nice strong pickup for those parts. So we could go ahead and do that, though. Just this doesn't need to do it, but just so I could show you how it works, we'll go ahead and pick this arm up, or this part up at 90. So I'll right click that.
Is it either 0 or 90, or could you do like a
No,
45?
you can do 45. It's, I mean, whatever angle you can rotate. It's manually rotate. It's a free rotation. So I mean, let me see if I can grab it here. There we go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you can rotate if you. That's the pickup you want. That's the pickup you're gonna do. So yeah, when you, especially when you're nesting, true shape nesting, you're not gonna have everything at 0-90. There's gonna be parts at crazy angles. So yeah, you just follow it, and if you can't get the exact angle you want, then that's what this is all about. Let's say I wanted an exact 60 degrees. I can type in 60, and it'll rotate those directly to 60. And the
Okay.
same thing then, you just get your primary arm, which would be this one. This is your stationary arm, which both arms will move. So always position your stationary arm first, or they call them arms A and B. This is arm A. This is arm B. Always position arm A first, which is sometimes hard to tell especially if you've been rotating for a while. But it's the one where both arms move. Position that one first, and then you can close the gap or open the gap with the second arm. And obviously you want as many cups as you can get on the part as possible. I mean, just for kicks, we'll go ahead and do this. We'll keep it like that. Not the best way to do this part, but for a demo, hey, it'll show you what it can do. So we'll keep it at that. Now notice it's the same on all of these parts here. Okay. So we've got these three parts taken care of. Now, this particular part, I'm going to box kit it. Is different than grouping. Now, grouping assumes that the parts are free, and I'm just picking up more than one. Box frame kit assumes that the parts are tabbed into a kit or tabbed into a frame, and you're picking up the frame. So the first thing I need to do on this part is I'm going to select the F7 key and pick this part, and then I'm going to go to F5, which takes me to the part view. The first thing you need to do is we need to put a micro joint on this part. So basically, I'm going to put a micro joint here. It's 20 thou. That's good. Maybe we'll make it 25 just to be safe. Maybe even make it 30 just to be even safer. And then put another micro joint here. You could put them wherever you want. You can put as many as you want. Just all we're trying to do is make sure that this part stays into the frame. Okay. So now notice I put that micro joint on the part, and it'll put it on all the parts because basically it's just a copy of each of the same part. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and go to box frame or fence frame. The difference is fencing allows you to kind of maneuver in and out of areas. So if I had a true nest or something, I could draw my box around these. I could draw my frame, let's say, and it doesn't have to be a true square. Box frame is all I need for this one, so I'm just going to come in here and draw the box. Converts the parts to individual parts. So what it's doing now is it's converting all the parts into an individual part and putting it into the frame. So I got 36 parts into the frame. Say okay. So now you see the pink line here? The red line is basically those parts are grouped. That's my group line. The pink line is going to be my cut line. So meaning that's going to cut that pink line, and that's what I'm going to pick up with all those parts inside of it. Notice over here I have 1/2 inch frame. That 1/2 inch is the border between the part edge to the actual frame. I've got plenty of room here, and I've got plenty of room here. I'm going to go ahead and increase that frame so that I could possibly put some cups on solid material. I'm going to have cups, and they're not going to turn on because it's going to see that they're inside of cutouts on the edges of these parts. But the thing is you got, let's say your beam diameter is 8/1000, and you're on a grid table. It's going to suck through that material, but there's nothing underneath it that's going to hang it from picking up that. You're going to lose probably a little suction maybe, but it'll still pick it up. So you'll see what I'm talking about when I put these cups on. But I'm going to increase this frame. Let's say the left frame, I can probably go a good 2.5 inches, let's say. Yeah, that's good. And the right frame, I can probably do the same, say 2.5. And the bottom, maybe the top frame, let's see, maybe 1.5 inches. And then the bottom, 1.5 inches, let's say. Okay, so that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my edit arm, and I'm going to just click inside of the frame. And now notice it'll turn on what it can. See, it sees these are good, those are in material, but see these other ones are on either on the edges of the parts or not. But knowing what I'm doing, I'm basically cutting those parts, and they're in that frame. I'm not inside of a hole, Basically, there's just an 8,000 line going through there. So it's not solid material. You got to it's not going to hurt to turn these cups on. So basically, you can turn as many cups on as you want, as you feel it'll pick it up. But that's why I put these extra I put this extra material here to make sure that I do have some solid cups being turned on. So probably with just that and these sensor cups, I probably would be okay. But you can go up or down, try to get this to whoops, I didn't want to rotate it. Let me go back here to 0. Sometimes if you get too close to this little center here, it wants to rotate. But let's see if I can maybe turn it so that that was good. I have a bunch there, but I'm more concerned with these bullseye ones sensing material. So we got that. Now see, this one's inside of a hole, but not much. I mean, it's going to be your discretion whether you feel that this is enough or not, or you want to just say, you know what, it's only laser cut lines. It's not going to hurt anything, and you can sit here and turn all the ones on that you feel is necessary to pick up this part. So we'll just go ahead and.
So if you real quick, if you turn one on and does it have like a sensor in there that all of a sudden it feels like it's not getting the correct suction? Will it not pick up?
No, I think what it does is that's a question that probably the guy's name is Thomas that would probably install at your facility. Those would be more that he would be able to answer. To be honest with you, I don't know. All I know is that it as long as nothing's underneath and obstructing the suction, it'll suck. It's going to lose suction, obviously, because it's sucking air. It's not going to be a tight grip like these are.
So
you know what I'm saying?
There's no like fail-safe in there that if it senses that it's not, doesn't have a
That's what these are. These have to be fully, at least one of these has to be fully on the material. So one of the if none of these were inside, if air was getting into any of these bullseye ones, then yeah, it probably would air out and not pick up the part. But because one of these is fully on a part and there's no air getting through, there's no gap in there, that would be fine. All these other ones will just turn on the suction and it'll suck as much as power as it, whatever the pressure is, it'll use that same pressure. It's just, it's going to lose a little bit because there's air under there.
So if it does, if those bullseye ones, if they air out, does it stop the process completely, or will it move on to the next part?
I believe it stops the process.
Okay.
I believe it stops the process. That again, that would be something Thomas can answer. But I believe it stops the process. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't think it's going to go to the next part until it knows, or until it. You could probably bypass it, but I mean, if you're running lights out, obviously there's nobody there to say, "Hey, continue on." But I believe it would stop. Not 100% sure on that. So once you get it the way you want, right click. So now this part's taken care of. Okay. So now this particular part, we definitely got some concerns with because of the shape and just the contour, and there's just a lot of areas it could hang up. So first, let's see where our cups are at. And by the way, anytime you have parts that are like this that we're going to try to free up, your best bet is to, even though I could probably swing these arms at 90% and probably possibly pick up all 3 of these, not a good idea when you're dealing with parts that could hang. Okay, those you definitely want to keep as a single part. So let's see if maybe, well, definitely this would be a good. Let's see. So let's get our arms at least in the right spot. So I think that would be a good pickup there. All of those cups being in a good spot. We even have a cup over here that'll help out on that side. So my cups are now set, but I've got a lot of contouring here that I'm concerned with. So what I'm going to do is take the part into my part view, and we have what we call notch relief. We have rectangle, and this is where the fence comes in as well. So what I could do is say, you know what, I can just put this little box all the way around and just have this software. So what it's going to do is it's going to cut this, it's going to free this whole area up. Well, that's quite a bit of cutting, and obviously this takes a lot of machine time to do that. The red lines, by the way, guys, are the trace lines. It's not cutting those lines. It's only cutting the grayish blue lines. But that's a lot of cutting, and I think it's unnecessary to do that. So, but that's box. I just wanted to show you that. So that's one way you can do it. Another way is with the fence. So let me delete this one and go to the fence. The fence allows me to kind of again draw my my fence or my relief. You know, keep it close to the part.
Is this so? If we had a part like this, and does our programmer have to do this on every single one, or can we save this in like a setting?
Oh no,
so
you
the
can.
next day.
Yes, you can save this with the part. Everything I'm doing here in the part view, I can come over here and go to File, Save As, and save that part. So the next time that part's put on another sheet, all this stuff's already done.
Okay, yeah, because one of the things that I'm noticing is it seems pretty programmer intensive. So if we can just kind of set it and forget it, that would be, you know, we have a dedicated programmer, but we don't want him to have to set this every single time.
Yeah, you can set up I can set up okay, well, let me show you this one here. So that's what the cuts are different, smaller. But again, that's kind of an overkill as well. Let me show you that in a second here. I'll answer your question here in a second.
Yeah.
All right, but I would do something like this. Because really all you need to free up is the indented areas. I mean, and if you feel comfortable, you can kind of free that up as well there. If you even want to free up this, you can do. So that's what I'm going to do for this particular. Okay, I didn't have enough there, so let's delete this one. I didn't give it enough material on this. I only have an 8, so let's just make it a little bit bigger so that it's too big. Okay. There we go. So that cuts that. But coming back over to here, so basically my sheet is now ready to process and to run. But to answer your question, we have a lot of automatic tools. I could set up this whole sheet to not worry about it and to basically destroy. And especially if you're doing lights out, we have these sheet destruction tab in here, corner sheet splits that'll split the corners. We also have the sheet split cuts that'll just basically cut and destroy the sheet around all the parts and let basically all the material be cut, and that does it automatically. I'm just kind of manipulating and showing you what you can and can't do. I mean, the software is going to, like I showed you, you can do the auto and it's going to do what it feels is best. Well, it felt it was best picking up every one of these parts. To me, that's fine. If that's what you want, it'll do that. But in that case, it's a lot more time to unload 36 parts one at a time versus saying, okay, well, let me just micro join them in and unload the whole group of them in one shot. So those are the kind of things that auto will not do for you. And picking up these two parts, it'll never group parts for you automatically unless you do it yourself and save it. And then the next time you do it, it'll already be grouped.
So, but the auto can like determine the best suction pattern on.
Yeah, well, that's what it did before. That's what it did. When I first hit auto sequence, and when I turned that switch on in my material or my machine info, that's what it did. It did its thing. And so all I'm doing, notice when I come over here to modules, and I'm editing. So in other words, I'm editing what the software already did. It tries to find its best location. You could literally hit auto and take it to the machine and run it. Okay, but cool. What I'm doing here is I'm making sure, and on thicker material, you're probably okay doing that. But on thinner material, these are the things that could cause hangups. And if you're running lights out, you want to make sure you have no hangups. Although if it hangs up, that's it. Machine stops. So
Right.
so
Okay,
once
and
we
then
get everything,
you can save those edits, and then next time you run auto, it'll know that those edits are supposed to be there.
yes.
Okay,
So
cool.
see, I did all those edits, I did all those changes. So now when I hit auto, everything's done. You notice those arms even swung over at 45 degrees. Okay, so here's my new stack, my new layout, but I may not want that. So I'm just going to come in here and show you real quickly the stack editor. It's an entirely separate module. That's part of this package. It has pallets or it doesn't have pallets. I actually made these. You can make them yourself. We have a pallet setup here. You can use metal. You can use, this is obviously wood. There's also plastic. And it's just a display. That's all it is. I made these pallets myself, just to kind of show you how it works. So once you set up, so for instance, I have what I set up is no pallet. In other words, I'm just going to put a sheet of material on top of this table, and I can just drop parts on top of on the table anywhere I want. Or if you do put pallets on, you can structure the pallets, and here's a 2-pallet layout. Here's an 8-foot pallet layout. So whatever you're going to do, that's how you set this up. Now, as far as the positioning, same thing. This is an entire kind of a manual type or auto nesting package right here specifically for the drop table layout. So what I could do if I want to move any of these, I could just come over here and move. It's kind of hanging off the pallet. So what I could do is just reset. And what it does is it brings all the parts over here. Now notice the group. These parts are all in a group, so I'm moving them as a group. I'm not going to move them individual. I can't move them individual. They're already grouped. Okay, so it sees it as a group. And then here's all the part data. Your list view can be done by part name, or it can be done by the shape, so you can actually see which part it is. Okay. We have this auto button here, so we can auto nest or auto drop our parts. And again, it's using the stacking, or you can do it without the stacking. Okay, on an 8-foot pallet with all these parts individually, it's probably not going to have enough room for them all. So you definitely want to probably stack. But this is your manipulation. We can put cardboard in between each part. So if you have parts, the stainless parts that can't be scratched, we have a feature that puts cardboard in between each part, and the PSR will actually place the cardboard and unload. There'll be a stack of cardboard, and where it unloads the part, then it goes and gets a piece of cardboard, puts it on top of the part, and then it goes back and gets the next part, and then so it stacks cardboard in between parts. It's just a full area that you can basically adjust and set up how you want your drop. The nice thing about using this versus the one that I showed you, the manual one in the sheet layout, is that if you're going to run multiple sheets and stack on the same pallet before you actually unload the pallet off of the unload table, is we have an option to load another sheet, another SY2 or a sheet file into this editor, and I can drop those parts on the same, so you could actually see these parts, plus you're putting parts from another sheet on here, and it'll save that as well. So once
it gets that from the schedule that the programmer is producing.
Well, it gets it from, yeah, it gets it from your what you've already done, and you can load them as SY2 files, as jobs. We have a nesting sheet wizard. We have which automatically will nest the parts for you. You can load them as a job. You can load them as a schedule. You can load them as a sheet. Whatever whatever your process is. Yes. That's how you would load it into here. So once it's the way you want it, you would go ahead and just exit out of here and close it. So you got to say yes to save your changes. And so now you notice here, we don't show the palette on this one, but the parts are the exact same as they were on the palette. So basically, once you have it you're set up, you're ready to go. You generate your program, ready to go. We have a nice little feature here. All it is just a viewing feature. It does, and it's kind of cool, but it'll show you the process of your how the PSR is going to pick up your parts. So what we could do here is, what's that?
Oh, it's unloading to an over-under table, which I kind of like the idea of that.
Let me hide that. There we go. So this is showing the process of the unloading. So notice the arms rotate as it's picking up, and watch, it'll go to the 40. It'll go to the 45 degrees there on that particular part.
Does this simulation give you a estimated unload time?
Not at this time. Yeah, not at. I don't think. Hey, Doug, we didn't do an estimated time on the simulation, right? No, that's something we might possibly do in the future.
Does it, in some of the drawings I've looked at, there's multiple there's options to have like multiple pallets kind of surrounding the PSR?
This is a single pallet, and this is what I think what Zach. I'll show you the multiple pallets here in a second.
Okay, cool. It's pretty sweet simulation.
So this was just a nice little display tool we put in just to kind of show you the movement of the arm and everything. Okay, so that's again just a viewing tool. So to answer your question about the multiple pallets, what you would do is come over here to your TK settings, your PSR settings, and this is just a standard. The unload machine is just a standard AMS PSR. If you had it set up with conveyors and cardboard and PSR with part conveyor, these are the different setups, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not that familiar with them, but I can show you what they'll look like. So let's say we wanted to use a conveyor with the cardboard. We select it, say OK, and then it puts different settings here. Now this dotted line there, that's the limit of your arms in the rotation. Now with this setting, I don't know. Let's take a look and see if the view unload settings any different. I'm sure it will be. Yeah. So let's zoom out here. So yeah. So here's all your different. There's your pallet, and let's see what it does here. So there's your. Let's see if I can center this for you guys. That's twisting it. How do I pan? There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, it depends on how you're going to have it set up. But I think we have all the different setups that we've ever done available. And again, if you did the cardboard, it would have a pallet. It would show you a pallet of cardboard, and it'd be putting the cardboard in between the parts and stuff. So anyways.
You could basically dictate what pallet a certain part went to?
Oh yeah. That's when you go into your, let me see. I've never really played with this part, but I would assume if you go into your edit stacking, it should show you all the pallets of where you want to put them. I'm gonna let. Oh well, you can't. Can you control my system?
Yeah, let me request.
This is Doug, my boss. He's manager of R&D. He's going to show you how this.
Do
you have control?
Let me see.
What do I need to do?
Did you get a prompt?
I didn't get a prompt.
You should get a prompt under go to assist. Give me mouse control.
Where's let's see, maybe I need to minimize that. Oh, there we go. I don't have a prompt.
Huh.
I hid the little prompt that was at the bottom.
Okay. Well, just go back to that screen where you're in stack editing.
Okay.
Up on the top is a setup up there on the where it says view parts, and then there's two areas, one for stacking tables and one for your pallet settings. So if you look at click on the setup on the pallet, next to the pallet. So here's some different pallet layouts you can modify.
Yeah, but okay, so you have to set up the layout. Okay, so these are the layouts that I set up Okay, so this is where you would set. Okay, so basically what I was showing you, this is where you would set up all your palette layouts for the different stacks, and then also this is where you would set up for the different tables of stacks. So you got table 1, table 2, table 3, whatever, however many tables you have for your stacks, and then whatever table you have showing, you could say, let's see, reset. Let's reset. Okay, so so I could stack, say, this part to this table, and then I could come over here and show this table, and I could stack this part over to this table, and so on.
Okay.
Okay.
And then of course you could put the palettes on each one as well, but let's not save this. So that's basically what I have to show you. Did you have any questions or anything else you wanted to see? I can show you the code. Basically, so when you generate program, obviously you're familiar with the NC code. So I'm just going to generate an NC view. So this is my actual laser program. Okay, standard laser program. Then what we have, what we call the SY2 file. This is the file that will control the PSR. This is the file that's got all your part data information, your pickup information, the angle, the unload position is the A values here. And so for every one of these parts, you have a PD number. So this is all the data and information for each pickup in this program.
I think our biggest concern, you pretty much answered it, is we do a lot. No two of our nests are ever really the same. So we wanted to be able to set part conditions, whether that be notch destruction or where the arms pick them up, and make sure we don't have to do that every single time.
Gotcha.
You know?
So let's say that this particular part you're going to use on different nests. So I have this set up right now. And what you can do, and I didn't do it on yours, on this particular one. I'm going to even come over here and just go reset everything. Okay. What you can do is I could say, this is going to be the way I want to process this part, and I want to go cut sequence, and I want to hit auto sequence. So I'm going to actually save this part with my notching, with my sequence, with everything, and then I'm going to save the part. Let's just call it, so that I can find it easy, let's just call it 11 PSR demo. Okay. So now let's go ahead and let's load something else here. Okay, so now that's cleared out of my database, or it's cleared out of my part view. So now if I go in and reload that part, 11 PSR demo, it's got everything that I saved with it. So it's got the notch release and everything. So now you can nest that part. And to be honest with you, that's the way we recommend that you nest parts, is that you have them already sequenced, because that way you get the cutting and all the whatever you're going to do with your cutting. You may have some big holes in here that you want to slug destroy as well. You have all that already set up before it even gets into the nesting. Then that way, when it nests,
we'd want to go through. So we'd want to go through all of our parts, all 500 of them, set them up the way we think best, and then we can just save all that. And every time we nest it, it'll kind of.
I would do it as you go. I mean, I wouldn't spend days doing all five. To whenever you need them, do them as you go. It's just as you save them, they're all set, and ready to go. Eventually you'd get through 500. I assume if you have. It sounds like you guys maybe have your own line of parts that you do. As you do them, save them.
The only other thing, does the PSR regulate stack height by itself, so it doesn't run into other stacks of material? Does that make sense?
Yes. There is a stack height option here. Let me have to be in the sheet to get into
like modules. Say those ones, we have 36 of those. That's a fairly tall stack. When we have 3 of the other things, will it stack them in order so it doesn't interfere with a previous stack?
Um, yeah, that's a question that I'm not gonna answer because I don't know. I'm not sure. Um, I know that if you control the stack and you control the order of stack, then obviously the answer is yes. Uh, when you're doing it automatically, you put in a stack height, and that stack height, once it hits that stack height, right here, maximum storage heights. Once it hits that, it knows the material thickness and it knows the pallet height, because when you create a pallet, it asks you for a height. When it hits that height, it will no longer stack to that position.
Okay. So like if
I know what you're asking me, but I don't know the answer. I don't know. That would be something that Thomas would be better to answer.
Okay.
More of a technical PSI. He does all the installs and actually, sets the machine up itself. I'm just a programmer, guys.
Okay.
I wrote the driver for this particular one. So all the code that it gets output is what I did.
Does it know when you've swapped out a pallet? If you have so let's say the pallet that's showing on your screen, there's a new program we dedicated another space on the pallet for its different part. So we swapped out the pallet. Does it know when we've swapped it out, or is there like a manual input?
You would have to tell it. I mean, it's only going to know what you've done. I mean, and everything that's saved and stored here in the edit stacking is what's going to tell the software, what you have and don't have. So I mean, if you've taken a pallet out and put it in, then what you need to do is come over here and do the same thing. Obviously, the software, it's not tied into your machine to know that you've unloaded a pallet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is.
So we'd have a set number of nests that we know fit on our pallet space, and that would be how we stack that. And then the next one, we would just restart with a new pallet layout because we know we will have unloaded it by then.
Correct. And once you do a pallet layout, you can save them as well. So, I mean, if you just came in here and came in here to open, you can open a pallet layout and say, okay, now I'm ready to run this one as well.
Okay. Because I'd imagine that most people have a few pallet layouts that they run more often.
Right.
Redoing the same thing every time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I'm good on questions. You guys got any other questions?
Yeah, and again, Zach and Mike Albert, any questions on actual software stuff as well, they can answer or even show you. I mean, I'm just showing you the PSR stuff. I mean, you still, there's a whole lot more to know about the software for just standard, programming the laser conditions and all that good stuff. Do you guys even have the model laser yet, or is that what you're looking at?
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, we don't have one. We're exploring kind of all of our options.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. What do you guys use?
It probably seems like we don't know very much. It's because we don't. All of it's fairly foreign to us.
What do you guys program with SigmaNest? What are you guys programming? What kind of machines?
We have Mazax.
Oh, okay.
We have some really old school Mazax.
Old ones. Okay. We have drivers for those as well. Again, I've been doing that for quite some time. I did all the Mazax. We have. Let's see here. Those are the. Okay, I have Mazax for all the new Nexus machines, the newer Mazax. We also have the turbos, the old Mazax. Where we at? Let's go to Mazax.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Yeah, so we have all the code and whatnot that you would need for those to program those as well.
If we wanted to use it, okay.
Yeah.
So does this PSR work with SigmaNest, or we'd have to go to the?
Oh no, definitely not. That's our stuff.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, they wouldn't be that.
I guess the only one of the questions, you might not know this, but when you're doing all the slug destruction, like how much is it? I'm just kind of afraid it's going to add a lot of time on the.
It does add time.
There.
It's cutting time. I mean, it's adding cutting time is what you're doing.
Okay, so
that's why I was saying on this particular part, yeah, you might be safe to cut all that away and just let all that be gone. But you're adding that much more cutting time to your program, and I had 3 of those parts. So take whatever time it takes times 3. That's how much time you're adding. So yeah, you want to do as minimal as possible, but again, you don't want the PSR to hang up, so you want to do as much as possible. You know, I mean, you definitely want to make sure that the corners are free. Radius corners help tremendously, and I noticed that most of your stuff is radius, and that's great. That'll help a lot. But anytime you have these concave type cutouts, or cutouts that go into the part, it's just risk of hang up, because you have material in there. Your skeleton's inside of there. So basically all we're trying to do is get rid of that skeleton. Square parts should have no problem at all. Square parts with the gauge material that you're using, you don't have to do any kind of destroy.
That's what our thinnest material is 12 gauge, and that seems to be, is that kind of right on the edge of?
Oh yeah, you're fine.
Right on the edge of thin, or we fine? Yeah. Okay, for the most part.
Yeah, no, 12 gauge is what? 090
105.
105. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. That's your thinnest?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then you guys are good then. You experiment, and talk to Thomas, or talk to the guys that are more technical. But 12 gauge, that's pretty thick. That's 105. You're not going to have to do as much of this as say if you're running 20 gauge or 22 gauge. Then you definitely have to, because it's thinner material. It's easier for this material to wrap up underneath the skeleton. You got thicker material, it's going to stay in the frame regardless of the vibration. You know what I mean? So when it gets over to the pickup area, that the thicker material keeps it in place, and it won't have any problem. You may not even have to do this on these parts here with 12 gauge.
Okay, good to know.
All right. I think we're good on our end. Thank you for
hey, no problem.
To show us, answer all our questions.
You got it.
And if I have any more, I got your email and I got Zach, so we
just send me an email.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.